Welcome back to another Tornado Time weather forecast. This afternoon I'll be talking about weather update from the Storm Prediction Center. Also 3 tropical disturbances and where they are headed. Make sure to like and subscribe and also ring the bell to never miss out on another weather forecast. So we will be checking the HRRR model first. So this is the lightning flash density through the U.S. Now this is tonight at 9 it's showing. Now this is at 10. As you can see, we got some storms like in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin, and then we got some down south in Tennessee, Georgia, just really scattered. Then as we move into 11, and then this is midnight. You can see we got some storms down south. We got big line down here in stretching from southern North Carolina all the way down into northern Florida down here. That's lots of lightning. And then we got some in Georgia. We got a bit in Illinois and line forming in North and South Dakota. Now, as we move into 2 a.m. here on Tuesday, we got a big line in North South Dakota, even extreme northern Nebraska. We have lots in Indiana and Illinois, and then that line that goes down here in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia really just dissipated, but then we still have that storm in northern to central Georgia that's still ongoing with a lot of lightning. As we move into 6 a.m., we have lots of storms in Indiana. We got even in northern Kentucky still. And that line that was in North and South Dakota really just dissipated. But to the south, it's moving into Iowa, and to the north, it's moving into Minnesota here. Now, as you can see, let's just move it into, this is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We have lots of lightning here. The only storms are in Tennessee with some lightning, and then this big line, which really all it did is move into northern Missouri, all throughout Iowa, and into Minnesota here. Then we got some northern Minnesota storms. Now, if we go check the NAM model here, this is for our dew points. As you can see here, we have this is for Monday night. Let's change it to 9. 9, oh boy, this keeps popping up here. Now if we change it, this is at 9 o'clock. We got lots of dew points in the upper 70s, even some into the 80s in south central Illinois here. Now, if we move it into tomorrow, let's move it into 9 tomorrow, or if we move it to 6, look at all those dew points. That's in the lower 80s in Illinois and Indiana, where those pinks are. Now, once we move it into Wednesday, most of the dew points kind of shrink and we don't get as much, but then they pop right back up again as we get into 9. The main dew points are down in south central Illinois here in Indiana. That's the main dew point area, but then we got this large purple area for most of the country here. Now into Thursday, the dew points really pop up. Valve for Thursday, if we check it this is at 3 o'clock. Really, dew points aren't as strong as they were, or as big, but they get more once you get into Chicago area here around 6, and then 9. You can see they are in central Indiana here. Now, if we do check the, let's check our severe weather here. If we check our Cape, let's see this. Now, the Cape, this is looking pretty good. Here, as you can see, this is night. Once we get into midnight, on Tuesday. That's pretty much skyrockets here. Let's check it right then. It really just changes. We got 500 right here. Cape 500. But then the wind shear, the SRH is around 150, but the wind shear, very low. It's only at like 20 for there. I will be right back. Come on out. Sorry about that. Now just go check through. Now once we reach it to Tuesday, this is at 9 o'clock. Look at those Cape values, especially out in South Dakota and Nebraska. Those are in the 5,000s here. That's very, very high. Let's check. This could be a very good tornado producer if all the conditions are right. The shear, okay, this is very low. The shear, it's looking at 1 singular wind shear. And then the SRH is at 7, but the Cape is in the 6,000s. See, if the wind shear and SRH lined up, that would be perfect. That would be, well, I would like that, but probably not everyone else there who gets tornadoes now. Once we reach it into Wednesday night, basically kind of the same areas in Iowa and Nebraska, not much in South Dakota anymore, but anyways, now if we lead it into Thursday night, it's really mainly in the areas that we're out to watch for today in Indiana and Illinois. Those are the main areas of Cape out here. Anywhere else is probably just in the hundreds. Yeah, that's in the thousands. That's around 2,000 in Chicago, 1,000, 2,000 in Chicago here. But now once we keep going into Friday, really there's not much severe weather on Friday. Now, if we want to check, now let's check our supercell energy. This is what's showing for the risk of supercells forming. Now, this is tonight at 9 o'clock. As you can see, we got around 18 in about upper teens here. And then if we move it to about midnight, let's change it to midnight here. Yeah, we got in about, same areas, teens. Some are in the 20 to lower 20s. Now if we move it into Tuesday, this is at 3 in the afternoon. Oh, it jumped again. This is at 9 o'clock at night on Tuesday. Mainly the supercells are forming out in Iowa and Missouri. Those have pretty high levels for supercell formation. But once we go into Thursday, this is Wednesday night, mainly in central Iowa is what they're showing for the main supercell formation. And then once we get into Thursday, this is at 9. Well, mainly at 6 is the main area, and that's in the 20s for supercell formation here. Now, if we want to go check the significant tornado parameters, so this is how well tornadoes can form in the environment and how well the environment is for tornadoes to form. Now, this is Monday at 9. Doesn't look much in the areas that we want it, or in the areas that are looking bad today. Let it load in here. Okay, this is Tuesday at midnight here, so, and then once we go into 3 in the morning at Tuesday, they're in the 3s, about 3. for the tornado parameter. Here, this is Tuesday at 6. Now, if we go into... This is Tuesday at 6. As you can see, the tornado parameters aren't much, but it's really how it is so far. Now, this is Wednesday at 3. Okay. Tuesday at 9. It really just all dissipates until we get Wednesday. This is Wednesday at 9 o'clock. We have a line just south of Davenport, it looks like, that has pretty good tornado producers, and then it rises up into Davenport area to get some, in central Iowa around Cedar Rapids area to get some good storms. That's around midnight. And then look at that, around Cedar Rapids, those are very high tornado parameter. That's in the upper 5s. Now it just really dissipates right before, but if we want to go into Thursday, the main area is in Gary area, around the Indiana-Michigan border. And that's really it for the tornado parameter. Now right here, we're going to check the HRRR model. And that was the lightning flash density, but we're going to check the reflectivity for it. Let me change it right to here. Now let's zoom in to the Midwest, just because that's the main area that we're looking at here. So the Midwest here, this is what they're looking at. So this is Monday at 9 o'clock at night. Not many storms are firing off. Mainly in just central Wisconsin, storms are firing off around 9 now. Once we move into, this is at midnight. Look at all those storms. Those are individual cells in eastern Illinois, and central Indiana here. And then once we move it into 3 in the morning, the storms just really grow and get much bigger. As you can see, lots of hail, and there's a bunch of cells that could form tornadoes if the ingredients are right. The hail risk is pretty high too. It looks like this is at 6 a.m. Looks like it's now like a big line of storms. It just formed together into a cluster. Now it's a line, so now it's not much of a tornado threat. You still could get, if there's those storms on the front of the line, that you could get some tornadoes out of, but now it's really just a line with a wind and hail producer. Now, this is into Tuesday at 9. That storm really is still ongoing, but we're not really going to worry about that right now. Well, we kind of should, but if we check it into 10, really the storm moves off. And then let's check here. Now we go to noon. As you can see, there's storms rolling in. We got some in Iowa that's rolling into Illinois for Tuesday. Now, once we reach into once we reach it ends at 3 o'clock. But as you can see, this is lots of individual cells that are starting to form into a line of storms, which they were talking about Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday, we could get a type of derecho if the ingredients are right. I'm not looking at Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday, one of those days we could get a derecho again for Illinois and Wisconsin and Iowa, possibly even Indiana. So that's really it for the Midwest that I'm looking at here. Now we're going to check out the tropical disturbances. As you can see here, this is the next. Right here is a disturbance. There's a 50% chance of a cyclone formation in 7 days. This storm is really on track for Cuba. That's what they're looking at, into Florida. We really don't know where it's going to go after. We know that's going to hit Cuba area, but we really don't know if it's going to dissipate, like what some models are showing, or if it's going to go up at the East Coast or something. Now we're going to check the Eastern Pacific. Here, this is a pretty big storm right here. This has an 80% chance of forming in 7 days. This is mainly moving off into, really into the ocean. It looked like it was on track for like Mexico, but then now it went off towards Hawaii, out into the Central Pacific. Then we got another formation, again, out into the Central Pacific. This is a disturbance that has a 30% chance of forming in 7 days here. Anyways, I did forget to check the Storm Prediction Center. I'll show you guys it. We do have a large slight risk for today for North Dakota, South Dakota, and northern Nebraska. Now, we do have another slight risk for Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Then we have a very large marginal risk stretching down from Alabama and Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up to like North Dakota, and Minnesota, and the Canadian border, primarily into Canada. Then we have a little marginal risk out here for around Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. Now, the tornado risk, we got a 5% risk here for Illinois and Indiana and extreme northern Kentucky. This is what we were looking at. That's the exact area where the Cape is pretty high and we have a good formation for tornadoes. And we have a large 2% stretching from Chicago all the way down into northern Tennessee. We have another 2% risk for northern Nebraska, South Dakota, and even North Dakota. The wind risk here, we have a hatch wind risk for Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota here. Then we got that 15% risk for Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois. Then we have that 5% risk here for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, areas like there. Now our hail risk is definitely smaller, but we still got that 15% or 5% risk for Pennsylvania area. But then we also have another 5% in extreme northern Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois. Then we have this 15% risk from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska here, and then we have a 5% stretching all the way into Iowa. Now, if we want to check our day 2 outlook, we have 2 slight risks here. One for North and South Dakota, stretching all the way up to the border, and then another one for Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, and Indiana, and then some Kentucky there. I'm not really sure about them upgrading this. They probably could stretch out the slight risk. I'm not sure if they're going to upgrade it. I don't think so, but they possibly could. I'm thinking they're either going to shrink this slight risk or expand it, or probably just leave it the same, something like that. The tornado risk is a pretty good 2% risk. It's like in a line from southern Minnesota all the way down to Kentucky, with Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, and in Indiana. Our wind risk, we've got pretty good wind risk here. We got a 15% risk where that one slight risk was. It's basically the same as the risks with that with the marginal, chronological risk or whatever you call it. Hail risk here is a 15% risk for North and South Dakota. That's pretty slim, and then the rest is just a 5% risk for hail. If you want to check our day 3 risk, here we have slight risk for South Dakota, northeastern Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa, and then we have this marginal risk reaching all the way into Pennsylvania and West Virginia, all the way up into the Minnesota and North Dakota Canadian border, also into Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then we got some of Kansas in there, and Nebraska. Now the probabilistic, that's the same, just the percentile risk. Thank you for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon. Ring the bell to make sure that I am doing this right. Also, ring the bell to never miss out on another weather forecast here. Thank you for watching Tornado Time Weather.